This is Mr. Samides here from Norwood High.
Mr. Bourne, the principal, nice to meet you. This is tough work for us to get together and talk about Star Wars, but we squeezed out a little time to do it because it is important work.
It's a very important work. I feel it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and the new one, Rogue One, did not fail to deliver. I love this movie. I've already seen it 3 times. It's got great action, good sequences, the comedy's perfect. Just all around a great Star Wars movie with it just builds upon what's already been done, and it just leads you to where you need to go to watch any of the movies. So again, I just thought it was great.
I thought it was good.
Okay, why?
Not great, but good. And to be fair, and I talked to some folks about this, I think the thing that concerned me the most was honestly the previews, and nothing to do with Rogue One, but the fact that we're looking at our 5th iteration of Spider-Man, the 5th resurgence of the Transformers movie, the 6th offering of the Pirates of the Caribbean, and you realize that this is just going to become a mill that just generates Star Wars content, kind of without really much regard, I think, to the original 3. That having been said, of all the new movies made, prequels, the 7th episode, I felt this one was the closest to capturing the spirit of the original 3. So it was good,
right,
but not great.
See, I look at it in the context of a standalone film, and just beginning, middle, and end. From the moment the movie started to all the way to the end, I was captivated by it. It was a good cast, good acting. Just the film itself just grabbed me, and just to see all the little nods to what came before. And in the scope of a Star Wars film, I know we've had this discussion earlier, but I feel like Disney's done 2 great movies so far, and I think I want to see what else they want to do with the property. Do I want to see a Star Wars movie every 3 months? No, but if they can deliver 1 good movie a year, I'll definitely go see it.
Yeah, see, I think the trick, I don't know, there's something about it that the way they made movies in the late 70s and 80s that really drove home the importance of character development, taking risks. I mean, if you think about some of the directorial decisions that were made in Empire Strikes Back, which I would consider the best of all the Star Wars movies.
I'll agree with you there.
Just the way movie and the movie industries are structured right now, it doesn't seem like there's any patience for that from the studio system. Okay. No interest in doing something risky or unique or character-driven, God forbid. It's just, we know what will make us money, and it needs to follow this very safe formula. And I just, gets me a little upset to think that Star Wars is going to follow in that same Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean, Transformers. You need to see this. Here's a joke. Here's a kind of tip of the cap to the original 3, and then we're just going to keep doing that and doing that and doing that.
But see, in that point, I totally disagree with you. I think the characters for the movie were developed pretty well. If we can talk about spoilers, if you haven't seen the movie yet, please stop listening. All the main characters in this movie die. So, as opposed to the original 3, you knew that Han Solo, Luke, and Leia were not going to die in those movies. This movie sets these characters up. You have Jyn Erso, who I think is one of the great additions to the Star Wars cast. You fall in love with her from the beginning of the movie starts. You find her backstory. You see who her dad is. You see what happens to her mom. You have Orson Krennic, who's also in there. He's the bad guy. He definitely gets more fleshed out. He has a lot of roles. He says a lot. You develop his motives. And even Captain Andor, who just you see what he does for the rebellion. You see he's got a dark side to him. But again, you kind of fall for these characters. You're like, okay, this is like these characters are going to take us to this journey. And then at the end of the movie, again, major spoilers, they all die. That is a huge risk for a Star Wars movie. This movie franchise, who builds itself upon like making action figures of all different shapes and sizes, no, they cannot make any more action figures of these characters because, love them or hate them, at the end of the movie, all the main characters of this movie were dead.
The other major spoiler is they do steal the Death Star plans.
Right.
Just, watch out for that. No, I agree. I think it was a bold choice. It was definitely good. I would say the movie definitely got better as it moved on. I didn't mind. It was actually a slower start than most. A lot of dialogue and kind of a lot of plot stuff. And without getting into the details of what I kind of didn't like about that, I actually liked the slower start, but it took me a long time to really connect with the characters, and I kind of ultimately didn't. Okay. It just never happened. I was like, you could kind of tell. It's like, they're not going to make it. They're already setting up this semi-tragic, love story between, I don't even know
Captain
the character. And Erso, it's like you could see that coming a mile away. The 2 brothers, the blind fella, it's like, they're going to die tragically, kind of clutching each other. It's like you could see that coming. So it's just like a little kind of predictable in that sense. But, I don't know. I will give them credit for killing everyone off, because that is not, that isn't the Hollywood pablum of the hero must win at the end and,
Right.
and get the girl, the guy, whatever, and win. But can we have a main character that doesn't have abandonment daddy issues?
Okay.
We've got Luke Skywalker,
Right.
who's abandoned on Tatooine, Anakin Skywalker, who's got this somewhat magical birth. What's her face from The Force Awakens? Rey, abandonment issues, and now another character with abandonment issues. I get it. It's like, it kind of gets the audience there. It's not your typical character. What about having someone who grew up in just a regular old household?
Right. But that would be boring. I mean,
Would it be boring, though?
It would
Because-
be. I feel like you need that drama. You need that pull to make us like interested in the character. If they had like a nice normal childhood, would she be fighting the Empire? Would she be in the rebellion if she was living in a Midwestern, like a mid-planet suburb with no sort of draw to it? The fact that her father was taken away from her at the beginning of the movie makes her want to fight the good fight, quote unquote.
Well,
the
it
good fight.
doesn't, though, because she starts out wanting to, I'm a survivor. This is all about me. I don't care about your politics and all
No,
that
but she was
stuff.
fighting against the rebellion. She was in the rebellion. She was working with Saw Gerrera in the beginning of the movie.
Right, but
So again, I've seen it 3 times, so I catch these.
you
things
get the
more.
little details. But I mean, she was even saying to the actual rebellion, like, I'm not in this for your rebellion. She was just in it for survival. Yeah, I get that. But I mean, even like Luke in Star Wars, when they mention the rebellion, he like hops up out of his
Right.
chair because this is something he's heard about and thought about. I got to think that there are just countless citizens that are like dying to get involved in this rebellion.
Right.
Why not get one of those people? I mean, that would have just been interesting to me to have a real passionate diehard. And I think with Forrest Whitaker's character, what's his name?
Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera. That's someone who's clearly against the Empire. Can we get like kind of the non-militant but political version of
Right.
that, who then goes rogue?
Right. Well, we have good pun. Well, we have Jimmy Smits. I mean, he plays Bail Organa, so
Yeah.
he's in it. You get his backstory in the prequels, which I know you're not a fan of,
But
which I'm a big fan of.
It is the first, I think, post-Lucas tip of the cap to the Disney crew saying, okay,
Yeah.
the sequels happened.
Right.
Here's Jimmy Smits.
Right, he's in it. So I just feel that, again, they fleshed out those characters, but again, with Star Wars, again, to quote, just to like paraphrase what George Lucas has said, these movies are made for kids. I feel like those of us who grew up with them, we're having to have like this jaded view that they're supposed to be this type of level movie, and we forget that they are designed for kids. They are a kids movie, and I just feel like Rogue One as an entertainment movie, as a spectacle for a pre-holiday type movie, I just thought it was great.
No, you're not going to waste your money going to do that.
No,
I would
absolutely not.
recommend going to see it by all stretch of imagination. I do have an impossible standard, I think, probably
Right.
with Star Wars. That's what I realized leaving the theater. But, little things that if we can get into the kind of the story and the nuts and bolts of the movie. Back to my Hollywood bellyache. The blind character who
Yep.
is kind of a Jedi, but with
Shadowrunner.
his stuff. He's really cool character. I'm kind of sick of the kung fu master that never misses and that
Okay.
never screws up. And I'm thinking about things like the Battle of Endor at this point, right, in Return of the Jedi. Han Solo, at this case, is like battle-tested veteran.
Right.
He's not like perfectly headshotting every stormtrooper he sees. He clips
Right.
one in the arm. He gets one in the chest. He gets one headshot, right? So there's a little like imperfection to that makes it real.
Right.
When this guy steps off and smashes 20 stormtroopers and doesn't like get hit once.
Right.
It's like, come on. Is everyone perfect? You know what I mean?
But that's the thing,
just-
I feel like they weren't perfect. I mean, like we said before, Jyn Erso was flawed. Captain Andor kills the guy who gives him the information in the beginning of the movie. So, I mean, yes, he was like a quote-unquote almost a Jedi Master, but that's the whole, I think that brings back the mystique of what the Force is. I think the Force from the prequel movies got so diluted that with this, it kind of brings back some of the mystery. It's like, wait, how does he have that ability to do this? What makes him better than everyone else? Oh, he can tap into this thing called the Force. Is he an actual Jedi? Wasn't really said, but I feel like that was a great show to show that these people have these abilities that normal people don't have.
Right. So Luke Skywalker,
Right.
Jedi Knight, Return of the Jedi, right, is on Jabba's barge,
Yep.
gets shot in the hand,
Yep.
roughing up another group of kind of, of less, trained,
Right.
Scrabble group. Just things like that. You're like, oh, the guy is vulnerable. Because when you see that happen, you're like, oh, no one can hit him.
But
no
I
one can hit
feel
them
like,
ever.
but I feel like with Luke, you knew he wasn't going to die. Like with the character from the Force Awakens, from Rogue One, he dies at the end. They did shoot
but
him.
you
They
knew
shot.
he was going to die.
But I mean, that just shows that he was flawed. If he was invincible and as great as he was, he would have dodged the explosion and survived. So they show that these characters were not perfect. They all ultimately die at the end. Spoilers. So I just feel like it shows your issue that they are vulnerable, and I have to counter it that again, I was really interested in these characters as the movie progressed, but to see them all fall for what they believe in is something which the original trilogy would never have the guts to do. If you're saying take risks, there's no way Lucas back in the 70s and 80s would have killed Luke, Leia, or Han. Han was supposed to die, but they didn't kill him off. They thought he was too popular. He told too many actions.
He's pretty brave to freeze him.
Right, but they froze him, but they brought him back.
Yeah.
So I feel like with these movies, they took a huge risk. They're showing this movie to a whole new generation of kids that could have been interested in these new characters, and instead of developing a following, a threequel trilogy of these characters, they kill them all off. So that takes huge guts to do.
Fair.
And to bring back your point about Marvel and Transformers and all that, we all know Spider-Man's not going to die. We know Optimus Prime is not going to die. Wow. We know Captain America, Superman, Batman. I mean, yeah, they might have killed Superman. But we know that the main characters in these movies are not going to die. And that's what I kind of like about these anthology movies that Disney is trying to do with Star Wars, is that they can make that risk. They can introduce you to a new character that you can fall in love with, and at the end of the movie, you're like, wait, they just killed him off.
Right.
So I think to them, it's pretty brave.
So other things that kind of catch my attention, and this only comes, by the way, of basically dedicating entirely too much time thinking about Star Wars. So what's the planet? Jeru? What's it called?
Jeddah? Which one?
Jeddah, yeah, with
Jeddah.
the temple. So the Empire identifies some crystals that they absolutely need there. My problem, like, it was cool to kind of see like a besieged city, but the Empire I know would have locked that whole place down.
Right.
They wouldn't have done like, go about your business. They would have just killed everyone.
Well, no,
and
I feel
taken
like,
everything.
Well, they were using the people there either as slave labor to get the crystals. So
but if there's a resistance there,
right,
they'd be like, oh, we're not messing around with that.
But I just feel like you're just nitpicking at that point.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you are. Okay, so you own it. I feel like they were occupying the city. They were getting what they needed out of it. And ultimately, they did destroy the city. So, like, why waste the troops and the manpower to fight all these people at the ground level? We can just blast it from the sky, which ultimately they did at the end.
Right. I think they were doing like an Iraq, Afghanistan-y kind of thing there. And it's like, all right, we could kind of relate to that. But again, you're talking about the Empire that ultimately decided to nuke its own Google Drive planet because they didn't want the risk getting out there. And then that's the other thing. If Google Drive existed for the Empire of the Star Wars,
they wouldn't need it.
But
you have to have a hard copy of it somewhere.
Got to have a hard copy of it somewhere. So little details like that. Okay, but what I will say, super spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, when Darth Vader boards that ship, we have been waiting for that. Pretty much forever.
Absolutely.
Like, you never, ever, ever get to see Darth Vader wreck shop on a bunch of just average Joes. And that happens. And it was, for me, awesome. But also like, what a missed opportunity those prequels were. Because that's what the movie should have been. We see Luke tear through stormtroopers and all the peoples on Jabba's freighter. And I think the reason they never did it is because it's hard to physically have someone in the Vader mask move around and do that stuff. But now with CGI and whatnot, they could do that. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. Anything with Vader doing like that, I think, was finally a bit of a Vader redemption.
Absolutely. That last scene when the lightsaber lit up, the theater I saw it at the opening night, the theater just went ballistic. Everyone was excited. They knew something amazing was going to happen. And that whole, it was like a 2-minute scene, did not disappoint. It was, I just thought, do I really want just violence for violence sake? Maybe because it's Vader, I'll give you that. But I don't feel like that would have added more to the story. So it was great. It was a great scene. Trust me, it's probably my favorite movies of the scene. But at the end, when he just wrecks through all of those rebels, and then he just stands there as the ship speeds off, you know exactly what's going to happen next. And I just feel like the ending was a great nod to the original trilogy.
They did sew it up nicely. And it wasn't just, all right, fans, you want to see a lightsaber and you want to see Darth Vader. It made sense to the story. It was something that I think when you go from that to A New Hope, when that guy boards the ship, because again, when they filmed New Hope, he was just kind of top henchman, Darth Vader, who then evolved into being this greater thing. I think they did a good job of kind of prequeling that, for lack of a better term, to be like, this is a guy that when he's involved, you're like, oh man, this is a big deal. So what did you think of the CGI Leia, CGI Governor Tarkin?
I like them. It didn't bother me as much. You definitely could tell it was CGI.
Just a little creepy.
It was a little creepy.
But I'm glad that they...
I like the fact that they were just standing. They didn't do anything like action-wise. I think if they were jumping in a ship or running, I think it would have bothered me more. But the fact that Tarkin just coolly stands there like he did in A New Hope just was a good a nod to Peter Cushing, who passed many years ago. And to see like a CGI Princess Leia, it didn't bother me as much. I understood why they did it. They weren't going to put Carrie Fisher in makeup and have her lose all the weight to be ready to look like she did 30 plus years ago. So it didn't bother me. I just felt like just hearing her say like the one line at the end was a good tie-in. The friend I saw it with the second time, he's not a big Star Wars fan. He's like, well, what happens next? And I just literally told him to watch A New Hope, because that movie picks up minutes after this movie ends.
Yeah. Definitely good.
I liked
Worth
it.
your
Worth your 8, 9, 10, 50, 12.
whatever.
IMAX 3D, if you can go see it that way, I recommend it.
Yeah, I saw it in 3D. I couldn't really tell the difference, 3D to 2D, but
No.
still good.
I enjoyed it.
Especially if you like Star Wars, or if you're just looking for a good movie to see this winter, check it out.
Please do. Thank you.